I'm surprised he didn't have his whole family here.
No doubt. Let me hit that again. Bring this meeting to order. I guess we'll stand and do the pledge, and then Mr. Shepherd is, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Pastor McCoy couldn't make it, so if you will lead us in the invocation, sir.
You got it. Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to come to this meeting tonight. We ask that you be with us all as we are trying to make decisions that are in the best interest of the citizens of Onslow County. We thank you for all those that are here working with ONWASA, ensuring the success and taking care of the many citizens we have with our water authority and our sewer authority, Lord. We ask that you be with us as we leave here tonight. We pray for all those that are traveling in your most powerful name. Amen.
Amen. Yeah. Would like to ask everybody to please turn off their cell phones to off or vibrate, and individuals making presentations or public comments are asked to adjust the microphone as necessary and speak directly into the microphone. This meeting is being recorded. Item number 1, could I get an approval of the agenda?
Second.
Is moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Discussion. I would like to add something to the agenda. Just a general discussion about infrastructure, so we can talk about the existing system and what we ought to be doing.
A motion to amend the agenda to add the infrastructure agreement?
Second.
Or discussion, I'm sorry. Is it, just a second? All right. Motion is seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
What would that be? Would that be G or?
Should be F.
Yeah. All right.
No reference to failing.
Could I get a motion to approve?
The consent agenda.
Moved
Second.
and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moving on. Consent agenda of business. So now we're new business. Frankie?
Eric's coming up.
Oh, Eric.
Yep, it's the Eric show tonight, so you're gonna get a lot of
Eric
Eric.
shift.
I was noticing that.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Good evening, board members. First item for business this evening is the collections crane truck. We issued an RFB, or request for bids, in July of 2024. Received 3 bids within the time period. The lowest responsive bidder was received from National Automotive Group here in Jacksonville at a total of $159,694. Pleased to see that bid came in about $20,000 less than 2 similar vehicles that we purchased in the last fiscal year. However, the estimated time of delivery is still pretty far out. We'd be looking at a June 25 timeframe for delivery. So request your consideration and hopefully approval for executing those purchase contracts for a new crane truck.
Do we have any discussion or motion?
A motion to award the contract.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Number 2.
Second item of business is for 2 new vac trucks for the collection system as well. We considered a couple of different options and ended up going with looking at the North Carolina Sheriff's Association procurement program. They bid out a number of equipment and service type contracts throughout the year that all local governments are allowed in the state to participate in. It allows to streamline that process and really sort of demo and decide on the vehicle that best fits our needs. We did select Vector Impact, which is a non-CDL 3.5 yard vac truck, as well as the Vector 2100i, which is a CDL required vehicle with a 12 yard capacity. we are requesting your approval to purchase the 2 items from Joe Johnson Equipment here in North Carolina and issue those purchase agreements.
Now, is this is an additional to the ones we've got or replace the ones?
It is in addition to the ones we have. We have 4, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 current vac trucks in our fleet in various conditions and age. We did receive one with the Plurus acquisition, a 2005 vac truck. So we've more than doubled that collection system, and that unit has served us well, but it has came with some repairs due to the age and condition. So these would be in addition to, but some of those existing units are nearing end of life.
Are we asking questions before we do
I
that?
was going to say, any discussions? I mean,
Go ahead and make the motion.
Let's do the motion, we'll do that, yeah.
Motion to approve the purchase of that.
Second. Now it's discussion.
All right.
Just a quick question, when it says effective May 18, 24 through May 17, I assume that's the effective date of their bid.
That's the effective date of their bid.
So as long as we accept it within that period of time, that's what you're telling me? Okay, that's what I thought it
And-
was.
and
I just
it's
wanted to
a-
make sure, because I'm looking, well, that was May. So basically, they give you a year to accept their bid. Okay,
And
thank
they're
you.
about a 12 to 16-week delivery on those, which was actually quite surprising.
But the dates are just about signing the contract, not about taking delivery, correct?
And they'll rebid a new contract at May 17, 25.
Okay.
If they're going to carry it forward.
Better not now.
Any other discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item C,
Thank you. Next is the Dixon Water Treatment Plant Secondary Lagoon Cleaning and Liner Replacement. We budgeted and issued an RFB last year for that lagoon to be cleaned. At that time, we determined, based on the advice of the contractors, that the liner would need to be replaced due to deterioration. So we tabled at that time and budgeted into this current fiscal year. We issued those bids earlier this year on July 30. We did not receive the minimum of 3 required bids, so we re-advertised it at that point and did, in the end, receive 2 bids. We are recommending to enter that contract with Central for $999,753. We have used Central in the past for lagoon cleaning. They completed the project at Hubert Water Treatment Plant last fiscal year. And we've also entered into an agreement with them to do some continual type cleaning, so we don't end up with 3 years' worth of accumulation in these settling basins. So we are asking the approval of the contract to move forward.
do we have a motion on the table?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
What was the second bid? I'm sorry,
The second bid was 1.25.
25% difference.
And how long is it between cleanings, or you saying that we're going to try to do a more close to maintenance?
So we are, and I may need my more capable colleagues to answer that question, but you know, it's been several years of accumulation in there currently. The hopes are to have that continual contract to do more of routine type cleaning, so we don't get into a 3-year type term where there's an accumulation, which drives that cost up.
And these are bond, they have to post a bond and everything, right, under the
They
contract?
do.
Thank you.
Just had to ask, is dewatering the same thing as draining?
I believe it is.
Just interested in that language.
But you got to have an engineering degree to de-water.
Did you water?
A rewater too.
We have a motion
Mr.
and a
Ward,
second.
anything? Yes, sir. All right, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, next is the 6-month chemical bids we've issued 2 years ago now. We entered into these contracts sort of at the necessity from those vendors at the time. During the pandemic, there was a lot of price variability, so we entered into those 6-month contracts to stabilize those rates because they couldn't guarantee longer term. So we've continued with that for a number of our chemicals. It's 4 chemicals that are used in our water treatment processes. We received back 4 bids in total on the RFB, and Americhem Corporation in New Bern was the low bidder on all 4 of the chemicals. In the prior contracts, we actually went with multiple different contractors to source all those chemicals. So it'll be much more convenient for those treatment facilities to receive it from one vendor. And additionally, we saw a significant decrease in cost on all of the chemicals from that contract 2 years ago. The liquid sodium hypochlorite is down about 10.5%. The hydrofluorosilicic acid is down right at 30%. Orthophosphate, 12.5%, and sodium permanganate, approximately 8%. So it's good to see those prices
So it's tracking.
trending in a
it's
different
tracking
direction.
oil. It's tracking oil, is what you're telling us.
Right.
Good.
So we're requesting a motion to approve the contract with Americhem Corporation for a 6-month contract with 3 optional renewals.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Second. All those in favor? Aye. All right, E.
Finally, the lead service line project, as you recall, approximately almost to the day, a year ago, this board approved a resolution to apply for the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund low-interest loan for the lead service inventory. On August 22nd, we did receive the funding offer from the DWI Division of Water Infrastructure for that $1 million loan, 60% of which will be forgiven, and a 40% or the remaining $400,000 on a 6-month term, 0% loan. Would like to point out that ONWASA began the lead service inventory in 2020, and to date have not identified any lead within our service system. However, it is the state requirement, which is coming up next month, to have that inventory completed. So we were requesting 2 motions, one to approve the resolution to accept the drinking water state revolving loan, and next, the project ordinance and budget amendment.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second. Any other discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye. And a motion to adopt the leak service line project ordinance and budget amendment.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Did that get you?
I'll be glad when he sits down.
Really? Spin,
He's thinking the same thing.
So I'm next.
Yes, sir.
And I'll try to keep this brief. What I've been seeing in our town and everything else is we're experiencing leaks. We're experiencing a lot of things going on with growth. I've talked to Frankie about this. In a previous life, we used to identify a certain part of our budget to replace existing pipes and things like that, and actually set up something so on a recurring basis. An example I've got is I joined the board and didn't realize I needed an irrigation meter. So $1,650 later, I got one. But they went out to put that in, which should have been a routine thing. They get out there, and as soon as you disturb the soil, guess what happens? And the plant crew, we had 3 trucks out there for at least a day plus, because everything is being uncovered. We're also getting ready to have the station put in, the pump station in, and it just seems to me as we're stressing our facilities different than we have in the past. We've done a lot of things focusing on growth and getting new customers, but I think we had the sewer leak that you described. We've had a number of water issues. We've talked, I talked to Frankie, and I talked about this yesterday, and I talked to Royce before, remember we talked about the loss that we were having from Surf City into North Thompson and things like that. A lot of this stuff will pay itself back if we can find out where the system's weak and things like that. And I'm not asking for a decision today, but I think it's something maybe, if the consensus is the board, to have Frankie take a look at this, and I think we should start giving some serious thought to how we're going to take care of the existing system, not just grow. Because my biggest concern is we start seeing blowouts on lines because we're now stressing the system. We had the ones on 210. You never know what's going to happen, but I think to put aside money And I talked to you, and I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but we actually had a dedicated crew that their job was, we identify them as a resource to go out and look at, do an analysis of what we need, aging a pipe, all that kind of stuff, and start putting some money away to look at that every year and start identifying what parts of the system that we need to take advantage of. And we're seeing it, in North Thompson, we don't have the infrastructure and the people to handle all the growth we've got, and it's not even close to what we're seeing on the water side. So, I mean, it's just a general statement about maybe we ought to take a hard look at how do we make sure our existing system, both the sewer and the water, is going to meet the needs of the growth that we're seeing. And Tim, you guys, on the county level, you guys, the growth that you're seeing is just off the charts. So anyway, I just wanted to have a general discussion and see what the thoughts of the board were.
Yes, sir.
What is the life expectancy of the water lines, water system? Do we have, I mean, is there a gauge on life expectancy of it?
Yeah, I had
Because
this
a lot of
que-
these lines we got are from the county owning the
That's the
system.
point, and you don't even know.
Yeah, the original contract, and Matt can clear this up with us, because I think he was here when it was put in. I'm just kidding, Matt. Was what, a 1979 contract, 1980, so,
Most of the lines that were installed on the original contract are 1980.
so, what? I mean, that's been quite a few years.
I mean, is there a life expectancy that they should last 50 years or 75?
50 years, I think, is a good general rule. I mean, you would think these things.
Doesn't it depend on the material? Because I was in the gas side, and we used to dig up, we had started putting plastic pipe in, you dug it up 50 years later, and it looked like it was clean. We had steel, it's gone. All that kind of stuff. I did send him some pictures of some terracotta stuff that we could use that was, 3,000 years old?
Yeah.
The picture I sent you from.
We should go back to
Maybe we
that.
ought to look at that,
Seems
because it
like-
looked pretty good.
It seems like it'd be an interesting workshop to have on what
Yeah.
our system is comprised of
I
and
agree.
what areas, because
Well, and
the
like Chuck-
municipalities, I'm sure, it's a little bit different.
Just reminded me, I mean, the town systems are older than the county. That was just happened to be when the county went out that far. So we got some town system infrastructure that's old, late 30s.
Wow.
Late
And it's
30s.
still working.
It's still pumping.
What are our lines from 1980? What were they made
The
of?
cast iron?
PVC. They're
PVC? So they should,
In theory, I mean, but you got to
Survive
think
a long
about the
time.
environment, like what kind of usage we've had on them. One thing that Seth had pointed out is the way we sort of used to push water in that area, it was different than what we do
I
now.
was going to ask too, do you think it's the aging of the pipes and then the amount of pressure that we've started putting on them, that they haven't had that kind of pressure because we are bringing it from Surf City, we are ramping it up?
Topsail
He's shaking
Beach,
his head, yes.
yeah, Topsail Beach, though, I know, along Topsail Island, our system, at least for the water line, is newer than the rest of the system,
That's scary.
because it was all replaced.
Which hurricane was it?
Which hurricane wasn't destroyed it?
So 96.
Okay, 96, it was all replaced.
That's almost 30 years, though.
When,
That's
yeah.
the newest part of the system.
That's the newest part of the system.
It's a good conversation to have, I agree. We've talked about it, during the budget, we talked about having a crew that we were fortunate to add to help, investigate some of the I&I issues we're having on the sewer side. So that's an issue just as bad as a water leak issue.
You're seeing the pipe splitting rather than a joint, is that correct?
Right, a lot of these are
You know,
splits.
you would think, and we're talking on the water side is where you would think that if you increase the pressure, you would have problems at a joint. Because you have your thrust blocks set up, and if their size for a certain pressure, and if we've increased the pressure, you'd think that's where you'd have the problems. I'm baffled why the pipes are splitting lengthwise. That just seems odd. But
Unless there's been some disturbance in the area, or the roads in a lot of cases get widened over top of our water lines.
I can just tell you, and with the fines I have seen in the last 40, how many years have I been doing this? 44, 45 years?
Dirt was new.
Yeah, I've been practicing law before the lines were put in. But most of the lines I have seen where the state has come back and fined my clients, and I've ended up fighting some of them, were the line splitting, not the joints.
And what pipe are we see splitting? Is it steel pipe, or is it some of the plastic SDRs, the C900? Which one? Whatever you got there.
It's the lower class
We never used fiberglass, did we? Remember, that was back, they tried that, and that stuff just shredded.
So how do you go about inspecting or trying to find where that's at? I mean, I think that's got to be a massive undertaking.
One of our first steps, we're going to try to inventory what's out there, go by what we've got.
Yeah, you're going to age it, aren't you? I mean, that's what I assume you do. You have an inventory of pipe, and you go out and inspect it, it's fine, you don't replace it.
Water's tougher.
Yeah.
You can put a camera down a sewer line, because it's normally bigger. It's water lines that are a little tougher to do, but.
You know, like,
Well, but think about on the island, too, it's sand.
We've got, I think you mentioned that we have a company that's actually doing some LiDAR.
Yes,
Surveys of that, and,
we do.
you know, I know you gave a report here a while back that they're working, I guess they're working still.
We have done half the county, and so we've gotten one scan. I think they're still working on uploading the second scan, which will help us narrow it down. But at the beginning of that process, we had about 200 plus or minus areas of interest that they wanted us to investigate further, just in half the county, for leaks.
And we're experiencing most of the leaks somewhere servicing North Topsail, is that what we're hearing?
Here
Or
recently.
A large percentage. I
We've
would say.
had quite a bit in that corridor, but they've been system-wide. I mean, but we have had quite a few in the Dixon water system area. You know, the biggest ones we had were down there on 210.
But wasn't the catch for us on the Surf City stuff, the fact that we were now buying from Surf City?
Correct.
And then billing?
Right.
Okay, and all of a sudden you look at it and it's like, wait a minute, we're buying 100 and we're billing 50.
Yeah.
That's not a good business plan, because that's what jumped out at you, right? It was just the
Right.
delta
First-
between what we were buying and what we were selling. Can't trust those Surf City guys, but.
You lose a little bit on each gallon, but you make up for it in volume. That's the old joke, guys.
Exactly.
it
like
seemed,
that.
I'm trying to remember, but it seemed like that at one time, Surf City treated their water that was not inducive to our lines or something like that. Can somebody refresh me on that? I'm just trying to remember.
They use chloramines for their disinfectant. We use chlorine, so we can't blend the water. So we have to have a clean break. And so we can't really buy water from them and just let it go into the systems. That's why we have
That's
to
how
have.
you tracked it, though.
Right. We do have a shut-off in between the two systems, and it's actually holds its own permit now. So that's why we call it the old settler system. So it's a permitted system that we have to pull samples in.
Yeah, I couldn't remember just what the problem was there, but how it affected our system.
Well, I don't know that it affects the pipes. I mean, I know that yeah.
But the other thing, too, is the numbers that you talked to us about initially, it was like 40, 50% down there. That can't be theft. Now, that could be a lot, that's too much.
The last
You know.
run was what, 36%, I think, in August, was
But
it?
you see what I mean, the problem is you got sand.
41,
And
that's
guess
right,
what, if you drive there right now, there's water everywhere.
Right, where you gonna find
You can't find it.
You know, and we were hoping to see a bunch of areas pop up on our satellite imagery that we're doing, and we had like 2 areas to check and
That was
didn't
it?
see anything in that particular end of the island. So we're still studying it to make sure we're analyzing the exact meters on the billing side versus what we're buying and using Surf City water on. It could be various things. It could be errors in the readings of the.
Putting the new meters in down here.
That's right. The AMI project will completely change out all those meters. So that'll rule out inaccurate meters once those go
When
in.
you also see pressure from them, right?
We will see pressure.
I mean, but to summarize my view on this, it just seems to me you got public safety issue,
Yes.
all right? But you also have a money issue.
Yeah.
Because to the extent that we can cut down loss by replacing old pipe and getting rid of that stuff, if you can take your losses from, I don't know what the current is, 18%, 5, 6, 7%, you've paid for this project, just in terms of what you're able to recapture. So anyway,
The information you sent out about this last break, there was a line on top of,
oh, that was
Yeah.
ugly, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an area where it had gotten really narrow there, I guess. So the transmission line ended up right on top of the older potable line. So
That was ugly.
they were able to stabilize that line. I don't think they had to cut that line.
That's the one on 210?
Yeah. Ideally, they would be separate, so we can work on one without dealing with the other. But in that particular area, they were literally on top of each other.
Anyway, the whole point of this was just to
Yes.
start a discussion about
Preparation.
Yeah. Be interesting to see what you guys come up with.
That's a good idea.
So,
I agree, workshop would be good, maybe once we get some numbers together, inventory.
right on.
Thank you.
Anything
Yes,
else, gentlemen? So I guess moving on to public comment.
Anybody?
Anybody signed up?
I signed up for public comment, sir.
I guess Cheryl's the only public out there. You ain't got nothing to say, do
I'd
you?
be intimidated by the guy running the meeting.
We'd like to hear, we'd like to hear anything you got to say, ma'am, especially about that one.
Yes. Well, I
Frankie,
know-
that's you.
Yep, I got a couple more things to update. I touched on some of them already, but I know we gave Eric a break, but I figured I'd bring him back up, and we'll talk about the bond sale. We were going to have it as an agenda item, but we just didn't have the paperwork to
Greg
back
thought
it
he
up.
was done.
I know.
I'm sorry.
We're actually, well, yeah, we're not talking about spending money. We're actually talking about, the money we will receive once we close the bond sale next week or in a couple weeks. So just maybe recap what we went
Yep, so
through.
we had our bond pricing on September 12th, a week ago. Went into a very stable market for municipals. As you'll recall, when we started this process in June, July, just a short period ago, we were looking at probably a 4.5% interest rate on this bond. We had strong ordering, a little more than 6x or 6 times the number of orders versus bonds we had in the market, particularly high on those 20 to 30-year bonds with 4% coupons. So we were able to leverage that and get our all-in true interest cost down to 3.99. So percent under where we were 10 months ago when we issued.
And that's all in with fees and stuff too?
That's the all-in true interest cost,
Excellent.
3.99. So we really pushed the underwriter there for sub 4, and they did sub 4.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
So we were very happy with that, with the outcome. If there's any other questions, I'll be happy to answer. We do closing on the 26th, so we'll be done on September 26th.
We'll officially have the money in the bank, so to
Right.
speak.
So what you're telling us is a water company, we're now flush.
Yes, yeah, flush with cash. Matter of fact, we got to tell them where we want to park that money in interim, so.
We will be
That's state fund.
invest in those funds, because since they are construction funds, we will have those for the period of construction. I think it's a 18 to 24-month timeline. We will be putting them in North Carolina Capital Management Trust. That is where all of our cash is currently.
What are we getting there now?
About 5.3.
That's
So we'll
sounds
be,
like what-
Coming
We
down
got our
there.
money too.
It's coming down.
yeah, we'll be positive arbitrage on the deal, probably day one with the interest cost, with our interest rate versus our earnings rate. There are some provisions in those tax exempts for being able to keep those. We just have to meet certain spending criteria within certain periods of time. I think it's 10% of proceeds within 6 months, and it goes on from there. I think it's out to 36 months. I can get all that information together
Any
and
prepayment
share.
penalties?
I'm sorry?
Any prepayment penalties on any of the bonds?
Don't think so.
But if I'm not mistaken, some of the bonds cannot be called before a certain date.
10 years.
Oh,
And I don't remember what the date is.
10-year.
Okay, so the first 10 years, you can't call the bonds.
Okay,
You can defease them if you need to, but you can't call them.
okay.
So
That's why you
did
get
very
the
well.
bids, it's a stable number. Good.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And speaking of that project, I was going to mention Highway 24 Force Main. We've officially got that underway, got the notice to proceeds out. So hopefully the contractor's getting their ducks in a row so we can, I know they've been talking to vendors on getting some materials lined up. So looking forward to getting that fully underway, coordinating part of it with the base, obviously, to get certain access to areas that we got to work on the base. A couple other projects. Summer House, site work has begun on that project, so I think we're looking good there. As far as getting that additional membrane unit parked in there from Kubota to get our treatment capacity where it needs to be. The booster station was mentioned earlier, so that's well underway. I think we are, however, though, a little bit behind on that one, just what it is. I think it's about 30 days last time I checked, maybe a little bit more. Yeah. Yep.
We saw them out there.
Pour slab. I know the pumps are they're in the warehouse waiting to be installed, so that's a good thing. Yep.
Hey, if you could, Frankie, our next board meeting is first Wednesday in October. Could you guys just send me a status report?
Yes, sir.
On that, just so I have something I can read?
Yep.
Thank you.
Will do. We mentioned the AMI project a little bit earlier. That is underway. All the paperwork's been signed. We've got materials on order, so we're looking forward to getting those meters installed in the old settlers or the Surf City end of our system down on the island. So just as a recap, that's about 1,000 meters that we'll replace out through this pilot project. We also demoed some of their software this week on how we could possibly integrate some of their software to read our existing meters until we decide if we're going to transition complete AMI throughout the system. Just thought I'd bring up a real quick update on the Piney Green leak that we did have. Unfortunately, a week ago? I can't remember. It's like all running together, but we did have an unfortunate line failure on our 24-inch force main that goes into the base to their treatment plant. We have a temporary bypass connection there now flowing. It's 6-inch line versus the 24-inch line that's been designed for that area. The good thing is flows are still sort of steady at around 400,000 gallons per day, maybe pushing 500,000 unless it's a rain event like we had earlier this week, and we peak quite a bit there. So we're still working with the contractor. We were thinking we were going to use the emergency contract, but it's not an emergency any longer because we got a temporary bypass there. Plus the fact that we would exceed that dollar amount that contract allows, which is $500,000. We're looking into some alternatives. Not sure if we'll bring that price down much, but right now it's roughly around an $800,000 project, give or take, to replace that 24-inch bore across that creek. I know. The material, the good thing was the material we did find out is available, so we're not going to have a lag time on material if we decide to go back with the 24-inch line. One of the ideas is maybe we could try to pull a 20-inch line through the existing 24-inch line. The issue with that is we have to dig up around the repairs that were made, and that would sort of make it a little bit unstable. And you got to explore that line to make sure it's suitable to be used. We don't know how bad the crack was. We just know it was basically right under the creek, and you saw the bubbling up. Base has been working with us on that. We did, however, have to send the plans to them so they can get a NEPA approval. They promised it would only take about a couple weeks for that to be turned around. That'd be record-breaking if it does. So they were going to put the express need on that. Again, they've been working with our team to get that done. A little nervous about the 6-inch line, not going to lie. I mean, it's a very small bypass. But we're going to hopefully get some, we'll probably have to put that out as just a project bid and present that to the board at a later date. Or do some alternatives that we were talking about, possibly bring that price down. We did talk about already the Astera program. That's the imagery program that we have looking at the leaks. So we're excited about that. I mean, it's a very interesting technology. A lot of these leaks that we've discovered after the fact, we've kind of cross-referenced with those maps, and lo and behold, there's a dot where that leak was. So we're hoping to get ahead of some of that and do some more proactive investigation out in the system once our team is fully trained up on how to use that and start investigating these leaks a little bit further. Again, like I say, we're getting a second scan done, and that will narrow down where we're going to prioritize our efforts with that. And that is all I have for you, Chairman. So, you got a question?
It sounds like you already looked at it, but since they turned us down in terms of additional capacity there, I assume that's when you said you're looking at alternatives?
Well, no,
Probably isn't going to save you much money not to go with the same size, but it's just.
Well, exactly. So that if we didn't involve an engineer in this calculation, but Matt and I did run some numbers the other day on what we thought that line was designed for, the 24-inch. If you ran those pumps at the max, I mean, it's quite a bit of flow, 24-inch line. So yeah, we could possibly get by with a smaller line. But again, we don't want to hold us back for future flow.
Because you'd be going 24, 24, and then something in the middle. So either you'd have to have some kind of parallel system or.
Right.
Or.
Two smaller lines, or maybe get by with one smaller line right now.
I don't know how much money that's going to save you, though, is it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, the line itself was what, $250 per linear feet roughly. The bore itself, the labor to do that was $600 and some per linear foot.
So you couldn't use a splitter on that? Is it plastic?
It is a, oh yeah, to bust the
Yeah,
line
we
bursting.
used to call them splitters.
Yeah,
And just
pipe
go in there and
bursting.
just basically go down there and just
Yep.
split it.
That's an option that was one of the alternatives. We met
Okay.
with a supplier that could possibly get us up.
Because then you can do an insertion without really having to do much.
Right, right. And then it's in the same footprint as the other one.
Exactly.
So that's some options. We did have a good meeting prior to all that happening. We had a really good meeting with staff, and I think I reported that to the board in an update, but we had a good meeting with the treatment staff there because we were trying to piggyback on some chemicals. They were going to give us a tour there at their facility, but that had gotten delayed. But I feel like we're going to get it back on the schedule with that. Apparently, they're only using half of their plant from what we learned from their staff. So it's designed for, what, 15 million gallons per day, and what it sounded like is they're only using 7.5, so, and they're flowing somewhere between 4 and 5, so that's some of their hesitation. You know, if they were to give us another 1.5, that pushed them to the maximum of their half of a system. So I do feel like they're getting a project underway to renovate the other half of that plant and possibly get it online. We'll see. So,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
Board member comments, Mr. Hines?
Well, I want to appreciate the staff being here. We got some of the best employees, I've said it before, that you can have, and it's a whole lot because of y'all and because of our director here, our
Yep.
CEA. Also, we have a new mayor in the town of Holly Ridge, and we've got a new clerk also. One of our board members has moved up to be the mayor, Mr. Parmenian. And so he got sworn in yesterday. We've got a new clerk. Our clerk had no connection with the mayor resigning, but our new clerk retired, our old clerk retired, so she decided that, I don't know what she's gonna do with herself now, but she's left us, but, we've got a new clerk, Margaret Reynolds. She's our new clerk. So, we've made some changes. We got almost a brand-new board down there, so, you know, I'm the old timer, so we're just going to have to see how it goes. But also, I want to, you know, I talked to Director Bittner after he fell, and it's a week or so ago, and I think we need to keep him in our prayers because, you know, he was really kind of in bad shape when I talked to him, so just keep thinking about him.
Yeah, he called me today. He really wanted to be here, but he didn't know if he was going to be able to make it out. So, but yeah, his mind's still in it. He responds to my updates and texts, so he just unfortunately can't get out and about. But he
And I
does need-
appreciate your weekly reports.
Yeah,
Me too.
You know,
Good job.
it gives me something to tell my board about. So, that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Grant?
Reiterate the comments. Staff's looks like doing a good job, and appreciate being on the board, and thank our excellent vice chairman for stepping in into those big shoes.
Is this your first one?
Man, I think so. I might have done one other time, but like I said, it was nerves were on me tonight, but I
No-
appreciate
No
it.
runs, no hits, and nobody got hurt.
Well, thank you for that. Mr. Shepherd?
Good try, Tim.
You just threw me off with Mr. Shepard.
I did that again, didn't I?
It's okay.
I've been doing that. There we go.
I'm just glad he was able, he got his hair cut for tonight, so almost didn't recognize him there for a minute. But just appreciate what you do and the work you're putting in. You've been real busy with the lines and everything for the last few weeks, so that obviously is a considerable amount of time and effort. And it usually doesn't take place during the working hours.
Nope,
It's usually in the off hours when you'd much rather be sitting at the house on the couch or taking a good nap on a Saturday afternoon. So thanks for your work and your effort, and appreciate what y'all are doing.
That's
Thank you.
funny.
Tim, isn't that like a smoke detector? It doesn't go off, the battery doesn't go dead till about 3 in the morning?
That's exactly right.
That's hilarious.
And the only thing I just ditto the comments, I know those breaks really add to the workload, and I know it's tough on y'all, so thank you.
Oh, man. Thank you. Oh, my gosh. Guys, thank y'all for putting up with me tonight. Thank you so much. And somebody's probably laughing at home a little bit, and I do hope, Mr. Bentner, man, he's an awesome guy, and he's been here so long, and I miss that cat, and definitely need to give him a call, and, yeah, keep him in your prayers. And thank you guys so much.
Motion to adjourn?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's Tim's favorite motion.